Good evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This is Cantor Stephanie Green, who will be helping to lead services tonight. In case you haven't met our intern, this is student Rabbi Jules Ilian. And Don and I were just always here. So it's either a good thing. So we will continue our service. We'll begin our service really officially with the lighting of the Shabbat candles on page 2. Cantor?
Mm-hmm. Oh, someone, are you?
No, you.
Oh, I'm actually doing
You're
the lighting.
Yeah. We'll just look at this one since the hostages.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hang on. Take 2. No, it's okay. There we go. It's out. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Continue welcoming Shabbat on page 24 with Shalom Aleichem. We welcome in the Shabbat messengers. Page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom,
מלאכי השלום, מלאכי העליון. ממלך, ממלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Continuing on page 19, I'm sorry, on page 12. At the top of the page, the top of Psalm 95, with whom they run and to God, maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. In all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. sorry about that page. That one is comes from Psalm 98, and it was on page 16, so we must have our signals crossed. This one I'm pretty sure is Lecha Dodi coming up.
You got it.
On page 20. We will sing our paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to that 9th one, we rise, turn to greet the Shabbat presence.
Lecha Dodi, Ikra Kala, Pini Shabbat, Ikabila. Lecha Dodi, Ikra Kala, Pini Shabbat, Ikabila. Shamoy v'zachor, b'dibur echad, Hishmianu, Ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, V'shem Tiferet v'litila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Likrat Shabbat, Lechuv Necha, Ki Mecha Habracha, Mirosh Mikerem Nesucha, Sof Maaseh B'machshava Techila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Kivorech, Kumi Uri, 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 Shidaberi, Kivor Adonai Alayich Nigla. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, Kam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emuneh am segula. Boi kala, Boi kala, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pinei Shabbat, Nekabila.
Before you sit down, please take a moment to wish one another Shabbat Shalom, maybe introduce yourself to someone new, and we are going to check our cues.
I'm with that. Yep.
להשיל יום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. צדיק קדמה יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשיבה, תשימים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישל אדוני, צורי ולא עוולת בו.
We'll continue on page 26 with Chetzi Kaddish, ending Kabbalat Shabbat and beginning the rest of the evening service.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברכותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב וימהרו. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולם מעלמיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהלל ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשא בריחו, לעילם מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא וימהרו.
Please rise as you are able for Baruch, page 28.
בריחו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Turning the page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim pochochma poteach sha'arim uvitvuna meshana itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla goler mipnei v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil bein yom uvein layla Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. All right, we'll turn to the next page. We'll read together. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we'll meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. We reflect on them, for they are life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated, and we continue on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושילנתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 39, this week we celebrated Independence Day, and we're reminded of our ideals as a nation, and throughout the world there's actually elections happening all over the place, and we're all sort of focused on the real world, and this prayer talks about the real world that we live in, but also gives us hope for improving, for making better, for using all of the values that we hold so dear and using them to put into the world to make our world better. So we'll read this prayer together on page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Micha Mocha on page 40.
Let's try that again.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? lai 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 lai. V'nemar kifran Adonai Yaakov, u'kalod miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidinu shomreinu lichayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidinu shomreinu lichayim. Ushmar tziteinu uvoenu lichayim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidinu shomreinu lichayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidinu shomreinu lichayim.
With that image of joy and the prayer that asks for God to spread over us a shelter of peace at night, a shelter of peace and safety, of quiet and calm. That is Hashkivenu that we just sang. With that image in mind, we turn to page 253 for Misha Berach. We have an opportunity in this particular version of Misha Berach to ask for a little bit for ourselves, as well as for those who are in need of healing. The first paragraph is for all of us. What is it that we need right now, this moment, to help make our lives a blessing? And then we'll share the names of the members of our community, our family, our friends who are in need of healing. And then we'll go on to the second paragraph and ask for them, refuah shlema, renewal of body, and renewal of spirit. So begin together in the middle of page 253.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We hold in our hearts for healing Ellen Apple, Julie Arnheim, Peggy Boone, Alex Botkin, Jimmy Brough, Jerry Chesson, Chuck Davis, Eileen Davis, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Alyssa Gardner, Amanda Goldstein, Daniel Harrison, Kate Can, Naum Kaplan, Al Camper, Eitan Klausner, Tony Linder, Sally Littman, Lois Michaels, Laura Marshak, Hal Menlowitz, Ellen Newberg, Susan Rosen, Bud Roth, Charles Rosenblum, Cheryl Sachs Dowling, Rabbi Bert Schumann, Benjamin F. Siegel, Rabbi Jonathan Stein, David Wallach, Jonathan Wind, Kayla Wright, James J.H. Yee, Hinda Sarabat Chana Pearl, Yaakov Yosef Zelig ben Masha Leah, Sarabat Chana, Yermatia Shulamit bat Miriam, Yisrael Asher ben Perlasima, Chava Gitel bat Toiba. Are there any other names from Misha Barak tonight? Yeah, go ahead.
Andy Manchester. Bernardo Rubenstein. Michelle
middle of the page, second paragraph.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Turn back to page 44 and Vishamru at the top of the page.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berid olam b'nei uv'in b'nei Yisrael uti le'olam ki sheshet yamim asad Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz uvayom hashvi'i shavat 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 vayinafash Vishameru, 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 V'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Vishameru, 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 V'nei Yisrael, Vishameru, V'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, Vishameru, Vishameru, V'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat.
Come now to Tefillah, which begins with a meditation on page 46. We'll do that together and then continue through the Tefillah on our own. It goes from page 48 through page 62. You can stand up, you can sit down. Well, stand up together. At any point, though, you can sit down. You can follow what's on the page or the direction of your own heart. Page 46.
Adonai sefer tiftach u'fia tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, let my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mivii Geula livnei v'neihem, L'man Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'matir Asurim, U'mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Yafar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Givurot, U'mido Melach, Melech Meimid, צמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום מהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Turn to page 62.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
This week's Parsha, Korach, is a challenging one, and one that involves a bit of context. So I'm going to start with a recap from last week's Parsha. And in last week's Parsha, Moses and everyone, they've gotten to the outskirts of the Holy Land. They're gonna go in, but first Moses decides it's best, let's send 12 scouts to see what's going on with the land, what's the fruit like, etc., etc. Well, the 12 scouts go, they come back, they say the land's filled with milk and honey, but the people, they're giants. We're like grasshoppers in their eyes. We can't go in, it's too scary. We couldn't defeat them in a war. I paraphrase. But two of the scouts, Caleb and Joshua, say, no, it's okay, we can do it, it's a good land. Most of the people, hearing that the land was not good, or that it was good, but there were these giants, were terrified, understandably so. I think we would all feel terrified in the face of giants who we may have to go to war with. And God felt that this was an affront to God's control, God's dominion, that they weren't having faith that God would take them through, help them to fight any wars, etc., etc. So God got very angry and decreed that everyone who'd left Egypt, who was of that generation, would not be able to enter the land. They had not deserved it, they hadn't earned it. And so, understandably, everyone quite upset. So we move forward to this week, to Korach, and people are now in this state of unrest. They're not sure what they're going to do. They know that now they've been traversing the wilderness for 38 years. They're going to die in the wilderness. They're not going to see the Holy Land, the Promised Land. And so here they were. And so Korach, this person, comes up, and he's the son of Levi. And along with 250 Anshe Shem, or named men, more literally men who were leaders in their community and famous, they rose up against Moses and Aaron, and they declared, "You have gone too far, for all the community are holy, all of them, and Adonai is in their midst. Why then do you, Moses and Aaron, raise yourselves above Adonai's congregation?" Moses and Aaron, who of course did not like their authority challenge, responded, "In the morning, God will make known who is God's chosen and who is holy. Adonai will bring close to God's self, and whoever God chooses, God will bring near to God." They were instructed, they being Korach and his followers, were instructed to bring pans of fire and incense to God and offering, and Aaron and Moses would do the same, and we'd see what happened, who is preferable. So what then ensues in the Parsha is this explosive argument back and forth where Moses calls out the Levites, saying that they'd already were set aside to do service for the tent of meeting, and now here they are, and they're asking too much, declaring that this uprising is going against God. In response, the people complained again, saying, "It's not enough that you brought us from a land flowing with milk and honey to have us die in the wilderness, that you would lord it over us?" This being both an insult to Moses and Aaron, as well as ultimately to God, to describe Egypt, the land where they've been in servitude for 400 years, as a land flowing with milk and honey. It's a spit in the face of the eternal. And this was the very language that was used to describe the Promised Land, just the Parsha before. And the famous Talmudic commentator, Ibn Ezra, points out that in this verse, what wasn't actually concerned was the land. What the concern was the additional power that Moses and Aaron had taken on. That they, Moses and Aaron, are behaving like princes. For the uprisers feel that they have gone from one dictatorship to another. Moses and Aaron rule every aspect of their lives with almost entirely unchecked power, aside from God. However, the people do not say this. They don't call into question in that way. Instead, they call them princes. They insult them. The uprisers are indirect. They do not express their needs, their desires for a fairer system of governance, more transparency. Instead, they stage an uprising. God gets very angry. Korach and the leaders who followed him were ultimately swallowed up in the earth along with all their possessions as a punishment for the rebellion. The fires they had offered then consumed the 250 people. And this, of course, led to more unrest in the community. God wanted to wipe out the entire community once again. And Moses and Aaron pleaded, and as God sent down a plague. And it says in Numbers 17, 12 through 14, Aaron took it, being the fire, and as Moses had ordered, ran into the midst of the congregation where the plague had begun among the people. He put the incense and made expiation for the people. He stood there between the dead and the living until the plague was checked. Those who died of the plague came to 14,700, aside from those who had died on account of Korach. As I studied the Parsha, I found myself immensely challenged. We are meant to see Korach as this rebellious and heretical, power-hungry leader. However, I would argue that he was not that as much as he was a man in a desperate situation. He'd been marching through the desert for the last 38 years, seeing his people confront challenge after challenge. They had finally made it right outside the promised land when they learned that it was not all that they'd expected it to be. Not only that, but for acknowledging and worrying over these hardships and complaining about these unmet expectations, they were again punished. All of their struggles over the last 38 years, and now they would not see the promised land. How devastating that must have been. Korach also saw Moses and Aaron leading the people, doling out the word of the divine, which was not often good news, especially recently. This was not a compassionate deity that Korach was following and that Moses was speaking on account of, but one who 2 parshas ago sent so much quail down that came out of people's noses in response to them complaining they hadn't had enough meat. So Korach did what he thought was best. He said it was time for a change. He took charge. They seemed, Moses and Aaron, to have too much power. Moses was raised as an Egyptian prince who had grown up in Pharaoh's palace, the exact people that had been oppressing them. And here he was acting as an authority. I believe that much of this conflict that we had described in the Parsha this week could have been avoided had Korach and Moses had better communication skills and a bit of empathy for one another's position. Moses did not want this role. It was forced upon him, and he was given the impossible task of trying to form a nation and keep them united through what felt likely like an unending trip in the wilderness. Korach wanted change. He wanted to reclaim power. He wanted a better future. Unfortunately, that's not how things went in the Torah, nor is it in our own conversations, in our own lives as we go through the many conflicts that the world brings us. It's so easy to jump to conclusions and arguments, assume ill intentions, and feel angry when we are challenged. It is not easy or comfortable to be told that someone does not like what we are doing, the choices we make, or the way we put ourselves in the world. It's vulnerable. So often we react as Moses does. We get defensive. We feel hurt. Change is hard. And doesn't the other person know that clearly the way we're doing it is the best way? The NPR podcast Life Kit, in an episode by Andy Teagle entitled 4 Habits of Highly Effective Communicators, where she interviews Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Charles Duhigg, and which I recommend listening to later, lists the following 4 points. The first that we should know is what sort of conversation we are having. Is it a practical one? Are you looking to solve a problem? Is it an emotional one? Where a person is just looking for someone to lean on, someone to share their emotions with, their feelings. They want to sort out the conversation just with a listener. Or is it social? Does the conversation work on building community? For Korach, it was an emotional conversation that he needed to have, followed by a practical one. He needed to be heard prior to being able to resolve any of the problems. Sometimes it is hard to differentiate between emotional and practical, and so a good question to ask is, would you like my help in problem solving, or Would you just like me to listen? Perhaps had Moses asked that, it would have gone better. We have all been in situations where we needed a listening ear, and what we got was unwanted advice. The next tip that Doheg gives is to prove that we are listening. Korach was not heard in the Torah. His concerns were invalidated and turned against him. What he was looking for was someone to hear his fears, and what he got was a challenge by Moses to see who God thought was holy. It was the opposite of what he needed in that moment, and probably was hurtful to receive. In order to prove that we are listening, Doheg suggests that a technique called looping for understanding, where you ask someone a question, listen to them, and then repeat back your own words in what they said. And in the end, after which you ask for confirmation. Was what I said what you meant to say? This way, miscommunication is avoided. Everyone's on the same page. The third tip is to ask lots of questions. The questions should be deep and look for meaning. By doing this, we are able to build and form connections. In turn, this leads to stronger and healthier relationships. When we feel like we are being heard, when the person we are speaking to cares about our feelings, we are more likely to work together to find a solution that meets the needs of everyone involved. Moses' only question was less of a question and more of a statement. Numbers 16, 8 through 9, Moses says to Korach, "Hear me, sons of Levi. Is it not enough for you that the God of Israel has set you apart from the community of Israel and given you direct access to perform the duties of Adonai's tabernacle and to minister to the community and serve them?" It's not the sort of question that's helpful. It's pointed, creates further conflict. Moses was not looking for an answer here, just a great shame. The last suggestion, which Doheg gives, is to aim to understand. He says to make it clear that you want to know where the other person is coming from. This helps to build trust and mutual respect. Both Moses and Korach could have worked on this. Korach did not ask why Moses was acting with such authority. He approached the conversation with accusation. Moses, in turn, did not bother to understand Korach or the 250 of the followers. So, using these communication tools, I would like to imagine how the conversation may have gone between Korach and Moses had they approached each other with more compassion. Korach, with his 250 leaders, would have gone into Moses saying, "We're worried. We have no control over our lives, and now you're telling us we will not make it into the promised land? We feel that you have too much power, and we want to take back control over our lives." Moses would reply, "I can see that you're frustrated and scared. Everything you've worked towards has been taken away. You feel that Aaron and I have too much authority and do not explain what we're doing and when we're doing it. Is that correct?" Korach would respond, "While I appreciate you validating our concerns, we feel very disconnected from the conversation you're having with God. Where's the transparency?" Moses would sit and ponder for a bit and respond, I hear what you're saying about transparency, and it's something I need to work on. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. How about we find a better way of distributing power, and I'll try to be more open with my communication. Korach would then say something like, "Thank you for agreeing to work on this and have more open communication. Your flexibility is appreciated. Here are my recommendations for more equal distribution of power." Following which, they'd sit down, come to an equitable agreement. No one would be swallowed into the earth, consumed by fire, or given to a plague. But that's not the Torah we have. So, I'll conclude with this. May we all be blessed to approach each other with compassion, ask deep questions, and listen to each other fully. May we hear those around us when they challenge us, even when it's hardest to do so. May we always put our egos aside to work together and find equitable solutions. And let us say, amen. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. All right, we continue with the Aleinu, which can be found on page 282. God, thank you. please rise in body or spirit.
Alleluia shai be'ag my doin hakol Ateit gedulal yotzei breshit Shelo asalu kgoyei haratzot V'lo salmanu k'mishpachot ha'adama Shelo sam chalkeinu kahem V'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam V'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Now is time in our service to think of those who are no longer physically with us, but will be with us in memory always. Tonight we are thinking of Daniel M. Berger, Bessie Schigner, Susanna Davis, Judge Henry Ellenbogen, William Freeberg, Rosalind Gaines, Irving Galanter, Renee Kramer, Helen Markowski, Leanna Mitchell, Norman Pearl, Sally Perelman Lehman, Beth Ann Rosen, Irene Rybinski, Joy Webner. If there's anyone else you're thinking of at this time, please feel welcome to say their name loud as my eyes meet yours.
Lala Warner. Well, it's Gene Krugman.
For all those we said out loud and all those we hold in our hearts, we join together as a community of support on page 294 with the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'izman kari v'imru amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'olamei alamayach.
Yiparach v'shabbat v'pa'ar v'tramam v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei d'kedusha b'rihu leila mukol birchata v'shirata tushmechata v'nechemata damiram be'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlam Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom rumav hu yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who grants peace above grant peace to the mourners here on earth. Amen. Please be seated. We continue with announcements. Thank you. So, first off, I want to say thank you so much to all the wonderful people who made it tonight happen, security, the maintenance staff, all the wonderful people behind the scenes. Also, much thanks to Rabbi Sharon Henry, to Cantor Stephanie Green, to Don, to Luke, to everyone for making things possible tonight. Upcoming at Erev Shalom, we have the joint service with Temple Sinai coming up Saturday the 13th at 8:30 in the morning. We start with Torah study, and Rabbi Fellman will be leading that, followed by a 10 a.m. joint service and potluck kiddush. We welcome all to contribute to the potluck. Friday, July 26th, at Erev Shalom Congregation, Kabbalat Shabbat and dinner in the garden is happening starting at 5 p.m. There's a reception in Aaron Court, followed by 5:30 Shabbat services in the Biblical Garden, and 6:30 cookout dinner on the playground. I will leave Rabbi Henry to announce who's doing Kiddush.
Those are both the services that our intern, I want to introduce anyway. So our intern student Rabbi Fluffy, she calls it Fluffy, but you can do that with her. And, we're really glad to have you. Thank you for your teaching tonight. So those services that you announced, those are both things that we're doing together with Temple Sinai. So that's next Shabbat morning and then at the end of the month. And we'll have more publicity about those things as they come on. So actually the reason why I get to announce, I lost my page, well, I'll figure it out. So Eamon Warner Frick is going to come on up, is going to be going Reno for his last year of high school, and then coming back about a year from now for his bar mitzvah. So you're joined together by your whole family, by your parents, Dan and Erica, your brother Leo, and other people that I don't necessarily.
He's got his grandma here for
All
me.
right. So all for this to watch you lead Kiddush and to wish you well. So that is on page 5.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who I've seen these Fridays and more often Saturdays for coming out. It's been great spending this time with you guys.
We enjoy having you. All right, page 5. Well, let's see.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
and adventure and joy and enjoy your beautiful surroundings and your family. We can't wait to have you back for your bar mitzvah next year. So I'll talk to you. And then, so this is a preview, and now we have a post view. So Abbott, is it Pointkowski? Pointkowski. I got most of it.
Listen, no one ever gets it right.
So Abbott had his their bat mitzvah in what month? February, and heard me complaining. Here, I'm going to give you this for a little while I'm talking.
Good idea.
So, heard me complaining. Yeah, well, I'm going to work on this. So, heard me complaining about the knives that I was trying to use every Shabbat to cut the challah. They just weren't very good, and so Abbott plotted against me, or actually for me, and presented me with this challah knife, this bread knife, before their bat mitzvah, and was very excited, and I was very excited to receive it, and everybody knew except for me, and so now you're here tonight. We'll let you do the honors. Is it blessing?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And while Abbott is cutting away at the challah, we will do Adon Olam on page 321.
Adon olam, Hashem alach, b'terem bo yitzi nivra, le'it nasa v'chetzo kol, az אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שלי, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא